Welcome to the Mystic Millionaire podcast, where wealth is energy, success is a mindset, and abundance is your birthright. I am Danielle Amos, your host and mentor, here to help you unlock prosperity, embody confidence, and manifest a life you love. Take a breath, align with your truth, and let's manifest millions. She is a serial entrepreneur, a national best-selling author of the books Simply Be and The Lightwork. She's the founder of Simply Be Agency and the host of the Spiritual Hustler podcast. She's a keynote speaker and a coach of high-performing female entrepreneurs like me. I am grateful and honored to introduce to you my friend and one of my mentors, Jessica Zweig. You're not going to want to miss this episode. It's a true honor and a manifestation to have Jessica in the studio for the Mystic Millionaire podcast. Let's dive in. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm grateful to have Jessica Zweig in the studio with me, in her studio.
Welcome to your studio today.
For the Mystic Millionaire podcast. What an honor it is to have you sitting across from me just a few months later after I worked with you this summer. Jessica, I'm grateful for your wisdom, your knowledge, and your mentorship.
I'm grateful to call you a sister, not just a client and a friend, but like a sister on the path together.
My audience is going to love you. Go wild for this. So I know what's to come. We share a lot in common. One being Egypt, also our background of corporate world and also restaurants, actually.
Yeah.
But like that hustle, that culture without the spirituality, the more masculine do, burnout.
Yes.
I'd love to talk about that to start and what then led you to Egypt.
Yeah.
And where you are now.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny the similarities we do have. And this is what I say today with all of my work. I don't think that business and spirituality can't be in the same conversation. It's just they're so intrinsically connected. And before I knew that, I was in the hustle. I was running. I've always been awake and like interested and dipped my toe in until I finally submerged like years later. But I wasn't operating from the place of that I am now of really deep trust and deep connection to not just my purpose, but like the grand purpose, right, of this human experience. And as a result of being disconnected from that, I was really out of alignment. I started my career as an entrepreneur in my late 20s. I started a magazine in Chicago, which was like the It Girl magazine online for 7 years. Terrible at running. It was my first business. I was green as grass and I knew nothing about business running. I knew a lot about brand building. I got really good and cut my teeth in the world of marketing and social media at the time, which has sort of led me to where I am now. But that business was the business that left me broke at 30. No competency around like P&Ls and, managing a team and understanding how to really build an enterprise business. So I failed that business, licked my wounds inside of corporate America for 2 years, and eventually got enough courage to start Simply Be Agency, my business that I ended up scaling and actually selling. So I learned how to do it right the second time. But I was still really deep in, because I had gone broke, I think it's an important part of my story that I never healed that in my body. It was a somatic experience, losing like literally everything and having credit card debt up to 6 figures, net negative bank account balances, going to my parents to help me pay my phone bill, going to my boyfriend to help me pay my rent, like real scarcity. So that when I started making money in my second business in Simply Be, I was like, well, I'm a rich bitch now. I'm like making like, 40 grand a month, 100 grand a month, 300 grand a month, and it just kept growing. But I was never really in abundance. I was always still running from scarcity. And that unconsciousness, while I was sort of getting the hit of success and a book deal and my press hits and my big team and my sparkly office, like Not that I was in my ego to a degree, but I was seeking validation, which is ego driven, led me straight after 5.5 years of like truly nonstop hustle, like addicted to work 100 hours a week, like
Wow.
proving, making, but really just like surviving. I found myself fully fucking burnt out, like, and not burnout in the flippant sense, like diagnosed depression, unable to leave my house, unable to shower, no desire to socialize, zero energy, lots of anger, and, dark, wanting to like burn my business down because it was this machine that was like now my life.
Yeah. And I'm really getting the feeling of that lack of safety, right? Because of the way that you were taught to make it happen and create that success, but you hadn't healed
No.
the scarcity mindset. You probably didn't even know that that was a thing. And so then never even feeling safe, even with $40,000, $100,000 months.
Yeah.
So that's a feeling I get.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that about safety, because I write about this in my new book, The Light Work. I have a whole chapter on money. Like, and you and I are very much aligned on our approach to it. Like, there's a lot of talk around manifestation, and I feel like it's very cerebral. It's not embodiment. It's not rewriting the programming to feel it, to bring it into action in your physical system, which does include your brain, but it's bigger than just mantras and vision boards. It's really doing the work to heal deep unconscious, subconscious programming that lives in your DNA based on, quite frankly, our parents and their parents' parents and the ancestral trauma of survival that dates back eons. And here we are as modern day women in 2025, like actually safe, but we're not remembering that in our day-to-day lives and practicing it. And so I could look around my life and I had all this success on paper, but I was exhausted from holding up the sky because I didn't want to die. Like that was really the root of it. If I didn't make money, I would die.
So many people can relate to that.
Yeah.
And the pressure of having, like, it's you.
Yes.
If you don't show up, if you don't do the hustle and work, all of this crumbles.
All of it crumbles. Yeah. It's on me.
And they might not feel it with a business. It might be their family home.
Yeah.
You know?
It could be the salary that you're making at a corporate job. Like that correlation between like my worth and value and safety to like money is pervasive. And that then creates this response of, I call it like the gripping, which is the opposite of trusting. And when
I can feel it in my body as you're explaining, like my whole body is like,
I lived like that. I lived like that pretty unconsciously, actually. And it was right upon the heels of that true rock bottom, burnout, breakdown, depression diagnosed that I found myself getting on a plane to Egypt.
Okay, how did that ever happen? Like, who invited you?
So here, I don't really know this story. So my best friend, Megan Taylor, the redhead, the DJ, she and I have been best friends for like 15 years. And we have, our tradition is that we take an international trip, her and I. We call it the MTJZ honeymoon, just the two of us. Somewhere we've been to Bali, Portugal, Morocco, Israel, South America. Like we go all over the world. She's my adventure buddy. And we had taken a beat because of COVID. Like we couldn't travel. So it was 2022 and the world was opening again. And at the beginning of this 2022 year, we're like, let's explore where we want to go. We're like, maybe we should try Turkey and Egypt and like that corner because we hadn't been. And she is friends with Joey.
Okay.
So Megan spent all of her winters during COVID. She went to Tulum and met Joey and went to a sound bath. And that's how they met and became really good friends. So Megan and I love telling this story. So Megan and I had decided on Egypt. We're like, let's just figure out how we do Egypt. Because you really can't. I would recommend you just go. But we didn't know that at the time. Agreed. We thought we could plan our own itinerary and get involved and do what we do. So we were like looking at our calendars in January of 2022. We decided Egypt between her schedule and my schedule. I was like, November. November is probably the best time for us to do it. So we're like, let's just pencil it in. Within a week after, her and I had brought it into our consciousness. Joey reached out to Megan, not knowing me at all, and saying to Megan, hey, I'm thinking of hosting a pilgrimage in November of this year to Egypt. Do you or anyone you know that you're friends with would want to join? And Megan, she emailed me. Like, I think she called, she was freaked. We both freaked out. And this was like our trip. I wasn't like a big group traveling kind of person.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? I'm surrendering to this. This feels really aligned. I think this is probably the way to do Egypt. I mean, Joey, it was the biggest diamond of a gift that just dropped into our timeline. And so we signed up. I remember taking like a Zoom call because she hosts these Zoom calls to like educate you if you're interested in going and what's it like. I put down my deposit and I kind of forgot about it because my year was so fucking insane that year and I was in a dark, dark hole. So I kind of rolled up. I'll never forget that feeling of like rolling up into American Airlines or United at the O'Hare Airport like a bag of bones and like just dropping into my seat on the airplane, being like, I guess I'm going to Egypt.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was toasted from my business.
Yeah.
So when I literally got to Egypt, I was like, whatever, take me.
Wow. I was just going to say, like, Egypt, she like brought you home, had her way.
Oh.
And I feel like if you were more conscious or like more in control, knowing you were in your masculine so much,
Yeah.
you would have had you wouldn't have been able to be so cracked open.
Well, let me tell you what happened actually, because I was until I wasn't. Okay. So we get there. When I say my burnout had turned into like rage, like I was so exhausted that I was like just the rawest. I'm not a bitch, but I was just like not myself. Right.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember rolling up to Cairo airport to collect our luggage. We had landed and Hatem was there to pick me, Megan, and this girl that was on our pilgrimage up. Her name is Vanessa. Vanessa is my sister now. She ended up coming to my first Claim Your Light retreat. But we all are baggage claim and we kind of identify we're on this trip together. And she starts talking to me and I remember looking at her and I was like, I just want you to know it's not personal, but I'm exhausted and I don't have any energy to talk. And because it was true.
Yeah.
Like that's where I was just I was like, get me to Egypt. I'm here for whatever it is. But I had sort of set the intention that I was going to like need to be really internal. And Vanessa had also come from like working for healthcare in LA County during COVID. She was burnt out too. We talk about that moment. She's like, I saw you in that moment. And so we get to the Four Seasons. We check in our hotels where we stayed in Cairo. And Joey kind of lays down the itinerary. The next morning, we're going to have to wake up at 3 or 4 to go to wherever we had to go. And I am like jet lagged, exhausted, and very, very much on the verge of getting seriously sick, like flu. I was 99% on my way there. We went to the Sphinx that morning and we can get into that. The next morning we went to Saqqara, or they were going to Saqqara, and I had a small panic attack on the second night because I was like, I can't get up early. I need to sleep. And Joey was cool. She was like, you do you. This is your trip. I was like, I'm going to skip this particular visit. And I ended up sleeping for 15 hours and I had Sekhmet visit me.
Did you know who Sekhmet was?
I had heard of her in the periphery,
okay,
but I did not know. When I say Sekhmet came to me in that dream and she chewed me up like we warred, like she's a lioness.
Yeah.
And she fucking destroyed me in the middle of the night. All of my sickness came up. I sweat through my sheets. My throat was on fire. I was choking and coughing, tossing and turning. Like it was her moving the sickness out of me. Because she is the goddess of war and healing. So she warred my body so that it could heal. And that night of sleep, I will never forget it. It was basically 2 parts. When she beat the shit out of me, and the second half, the first 7 hours and the second 7 hours when I slept like a baby. And I woke up the next morning and I felt fine. And I was able to do that trip. Sekhmet is she's right over there. Like I will forever hold her as one of my most favorite and sacred goddesses of, like, with gratitude. I've never had a visitation from a goddess in a dream in my life. That was my second night in Egypt.
So first of all, let's comment on the fact that you trusted yourself to know what you needed
Yeah.
to not go to that temple.
Yeah,
Imagine if you would have pushed yourself like you were probably programmed to do.
totally. I felt so much guilt. I thought Joey didn't like me.
Yeah.
I just met her. She's like, oh my God. I'm like, is she going to think I'm high maintenance?
Yeah.
But I pushed through that. And yeah, you're right. I honored myself.
Huge.
It was huge. And that was night 2 of what was, like a 15-day full on fucking galactic cosmic remembrance of why you came to planet Earth.
Yeah.
Like, at least it was for me.
Yeah. Shaken. Like, I feel like I was like,
Yeah,
everything
shaken
you
and
knew
stirred.
what was true
Right.
was like actually
alive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's remember something different now.
Let's remember the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, maybe this is where we get into the aliens.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Great. If this will be a great segue into my school. I'm
Okay,
so
good,
interested
good.
about the aliens.
Okay. So Pleiadian. And I've read your book. I
Yeah.
love your book. Thank you.
you.
Both.
Thank you.
So tell us what happened with the Pleiadians and why Pleiadians?
Yeah. So I'll make a long story short, but like I said, I had dipped my toe into spirituality and then kept submerging and submerging and submerging. I'm like, give me all the healers. I'll do all the sessions. I want to learn about myself. Started with astrology, plant medicine, name it, I've done it.
And you've done plant medicine?
Many.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done.
That's another, well, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever done plant medicine? Which ones?
A few ayahuasca in Arrhythmia
Okay.
in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And then I went to Tulum and did the frog ones.
The bufo?
Bufo
Yeah.
and combo.
Yep.
And samadhi, which is the birch bark of a tree.
Oh, I've never heard of samadhi. I've done ayahuasca, bufo, psilocybin, and I think my favorite is MDMA to use it in ceremony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you do that?
I have a very beautiful healer that's based in Chicago that I exclusively work with MDMA. I can give you her number if you're interested. She travels. She's my dragon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I came into Egypt, having a lot of this kind of, in my wheelhouse and deep connection and understanding to like the infinite universe. And prior to, this trip years ago in around 2018, one of those healing sessions I signed up to do was with a woman that was like a shaman, but didn't use any medicines. In fact, you're completely sober and coherent during this. And she did this reading on me, and I like basically visualized and journeyed. She put her hands on my head like this for an hour, and we just lied there. I was on a massage table, and I journeyed somewhere, and I felt like a totally other world, planet. It felt this just beautiful sense of like connection and home and peace and familiarity. And anyway, I come back down into my body, and she had journeyed with me. And she told me in that moment, she's like, you are Pleiadian. You're from Pleiades. And that's where you went. You just touched into the frequency of Pleiades. And I was like, what is like a Pleiadian? I'd never heard of Pleiadians. I didn't even know how to say it. But there was something, that experience and how she shared it with me, that just hit as truth. You just know.
Oh, yeah.
So I went on a deep dive, and I mean, their book is on my altar. I've read all of their books. I've really gone deep into understanding their story, their mission, and really they're the original bringers of light on this planet. This is going deep into like ancient eons of universal history, or at least what I believe to be. There's been dark versus light across this whole universe as long as it's been around. And the Pleiadians are of the light. And they had identified Earth as sort of this new hotspot zone where they could recreate much of their civilization and reality, because they were battling the dark where they were from, to come down to Earth to create kind of a new human species embedded and encoded. Like quite literally, I believe we're hybrids.
Yes.
With these truths of limitless quantum manifestation, joy is our birthright, pleasure and bliss is our, like, the why we're here. And over the course of, there's been a hot fight for Earth because of its dimension. the dark came and fought for humanoids to program it with their agenda and their intention. And much of the dark has been winning over the course of these last hundreds of thousands of years. It came to a true head during the dawn of the patriarchy. And much of these codes, these light codes, our DNA of pure quantum limitless abilities and gifts has been not just like ignored and forgotten, but like asleep, dormant. And I believe I came to the Pleiadians during my awakening to understand the truth of our human capacity and like what we've really the game we've come here to play, not only for our own lives, but to help humanity at large wake up and have this huge shift of the collective consciousness that we are all here for. 5D, love, oneness, bliss, abundance, community, empathy, safety, harmony, peace. Like, what if we lived in a world like that every day and our children inherited a world like that every day? So that's like my Pleiadian mission, right? So I had just them in my field and my own personal practice for quite some time. And then I get to Egypt and went to temple to temple to temple. And it wasn't until Dendera where I had my biggest experience. And do you remember there were those ladders up into those coves in the wall? Did you go in those?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was there too.
Okay.
Exactly there. So I go up and we'd walked the temple. So I was getting like activated throughout the time I was on the second I stepped foot actually on her grounds, I was like, I've been here before.
And there were 3 rooms, right?
Yes.
And do you remember which one? If it was 1, 2, or 3?
I think
they all had ladders.
They all had ladders. It was, I think, the first one.
Okay.
Or the second one.
Yeah.
Maybe I think the first one.
That's the one I went into too. That's why I'm asking, because I got that vision when you said that. I'm like, I bet you it's the same.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
you were there.
Yeah.
I mean, and you were saying on my podcast, like these walls are alive, like they're coded.
Yeah.
They're vibrating. I mean, there's no place like it. And so I crawl up the ladder and I'm in there by myself and I just felt my whole call to press my whole body up against the wall, like third eye, throat, heart chakra, like my whole body, my root, like as much as I could press onto her wall. It just was the intuitive hit I got to do that. And I was standing like that and I closed my eyes and I got struck by white light. Like a diamond white flash of light. I just saw it and I felt it. It felt like lightning had struck me. And in a matter of, I don't know, milliseconds, I am like expanding. My auric field is expanding, and like beyond the temple, beyond the country, beyond the planet, like up into the ether. And I felt so available. Like I was just like, and then I started hearing a chorus of voices. And I'm clairaudient. Like I'm not clairsentient or clairvoyant, but I'm clairaudient. Like I hear, I'm able to have conversation. But I've never in my life had such clear communication in my life. And they were speaking to me so fast in unison. And yet it sort of felt like there were multiple voices like jumping over each other, like fighting. It was like the feeling I got was like, she's open. We have to tell her this. Stop talking. I need to tell her this. You don't forget to tell her that. Please tell her this. They were talking so fast. And I knew they were the Pleiadians.
Yeah.
And they were familiar. And it was the highest dimension of consciousness, source, dimensionality I've ever been able to access. And they said a lot of things to me that day. And I wrote them down. Like I left Hathor's temple and wrote them all down in my phone so I couldn't forget it. And I write about them extensively in the book. My whole book. Actually, I would say my whole life for these last few years has been a response to that.
Wow.
And an integration of that.
Good word. Integration of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a full cellular upgrade.
How have you integrated? Like what intentionally have you brought into your life to actually integrate that? I believe that's a missing for a lot of people. They can
Yeah.
go on a retreat and then
They
they
go
leave
back
it
to their
there. Yeah.
life. Yeah. I would say my entire life and how it looks today is a testimony of my integration. My life took a 180 when I came back from Egypt. I slowed down. I healed my nervous system. I channeled the light work. I made joy my job.
Hmm.
I practiced joy as a daily devotion. I sold my business. I launched some retreats for fun because they brought me fun and joy because I love being with women, and they sold out. And then I sold the business and launched me, and my business has just been one big, beautiful expansion of calling in and magnetizing all the beautiful women I want to serve. I moved to Nashville. I got out of a big city and moved to a green, feminine, nature, fresh air place to live. I almost got a divorce when I first got home from Egypt because my
I was
husband
gonna
was like, "Who
ask.
are you?"
Yeah, I was gonna ask how
Yeah.
that went.
My marriage definitely took a hit for about 2 months. Brian and I were like, it was one big clash every day. And we have a wonderful relationship coach that we pay a lot of money to help us, and it's worth every dime. And I recognize, but I don't think you can really survive marriage unless you're both willing to really do the work. Like, if you don't do the work, you're not going to make it. Relationships are too hard. And so we alchemized, and, we're building our dream house. Like, we have, 2 beautiful dogs. Not that my life is perfect at all, but I have a lot more peace in my life. Like, I have a lot more feminine flow in my life. I've loosened the grip and stepped into trust because the Pleiadians, back to that temple in Egypt, they told me a lot of things, but the 2 main things that really changed the game were, one, that I had absolutely missed the plot of my life,
Wow.
that I had been working and grinding and climbing and hustling so hard that I never stopped once to actually enjoy my life and have fun.
How did that feel?
True.
Yeah.
A complete remembrance and awakening.
I'd
Sad.
like everyone to hear that though, like, because you're not the only one
Yeah,
that's missed the plot.
I know that. I think that's why, in many ways, me sharing the message that I have has been so resonant, because so many of us are just going through the motions and thinking that to have fun and make play and joy and levity, your job is indulgent
Yeah.
or like a privilege or luxury.
Yeah. Or irresponsible.
Irresponsible.
I was just saying this last night to my best friend who's in Nashville with me. I said, I wish someone would have told me when I was in my 20s, 30s to like stop, and
Same.
because this moment doesn't last. This season doesn't last. There'll be a time when this part of my life will not be anymore. And no one said that. And so
Yeah.
going through the motions, it's all like I remember, and yet I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I really took advantage of that or
Totally.
really sunk in that time.
Yeah.
And so we were commenting because we were in line, and which we don't do lines, and we we went against what we normally do last night. And I saw these 20 somethings. I'm like, I want to say to these girls, like, be here, be present right now.
Yes, I say the same thing.
And like, yeah, shake them more,
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Yeah.
Because we spend so much of our lives like chasing the next thing or thinking that, we're not where we're supposed to be. And then you get where you think you're supposed to be. And then it's all around the validation that, like, am I right on track? Am I here? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it good enough? Am I going to be seen as successful? And we outsource our validation left, right, and center from everything but our own inner locus of satisfaction and what feels good to us. We don't slow down enough to even check in on what that is. And when those those voices, the Pleiadians were like, they said to me, Danielle, they were like, you get to be in a body.
Mm.
You get to be in a human body on earth. And you get to have sex here and eat chocolate here and kiss puppies here and wear cute clothes here and travel the world here and do things that you love and follow a purpose here. You have to remember that every single second of every single day to be in a human body is a gift and you're missing it.
Wow.
And I remember them saying to me, if you don't enjoy it for you, because you're clearly not, please start to enjoy it for us because we can't be down there.
Wow.
And, you know, I you know, it's sort of like plant medicine, like the ceremony isn't the work. The ceremony is the doorway. It's the invitation. But then you wake up the next morning with all this new information, and that's the integration. That's the work.
Yeah.
And I feel like Egypt was the doorway and the ceremony, but the real integration has been, actually the ceremony has been my life. But I was talking about this with somebody the other day, and I was like, yeah, the last 2 years of my life since Egypt is when all of those codes that I got there. I mean, we do move in linear time here in seasons, has been the unfolding of that complete upgrade of consciousness, of actual, I think, cellular memory. And it takes time to integrate and alchemize it, but it's what's led me here.
It takes time, and it takes the courage to recognize what you received in Egypt. And then again, I want to say like thinking, or maybe this is where we can help more women actually, is in the integration, because I'm not sure everyone knows how.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do with this information? What does it look like to walk in alignment with this truth and praxis with it, you know?
Yeah. I have advice for her.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously everyone's life is different. Like some people have kids, some people are working a day job, some people are building a business, but they have no support. But I really believe, you know, because we're running so fast, we're not in our bodies. Like we're not grounded and rooted and embodied in what we're feeling, you know, what's coming up for us. We're most often so fucking tired.
Yeah.
And I remember when I came back from Egypt, and I was running a big business with a lot of responsibility, and I had put in place some support to help me kind of get out of the weeds. I made the commitment to like close my computer at 3 instead of 8 o'clock. I decided I would take Fridays for me. And sometimes I would catch up on email, and sometimes I would take a walk in my neighborhood. I started to, I remember practicing boredom, like in the little pockets I had it. Like I have 15 minutes to do nothing. I'm just literally going to practice sitting on my bed and looking at the ceiling and see what comes up for me. I went to the art store in my neighborhood and picked up like a sketch pad and colored pencils, and I started drawing instead of like journaling. I would like create. I remember just like dancing more. I took like, you know, ecstatic dance classes on the weekends. Like didn't matter how I danced, just move my body, shake out the energy, listen to good music. Those are things I couldn't say I did any of that for like 7 years. And so really making space to slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
And practice joy. Joy looks different for all of us. For me, it was drawing and dancing. For you, it might be cooking. It might be playing with your dog. It might be, you know, water skiing. I don't know. But it's like joy. Make it a practice. It's different than happiness. The fleeting emotion, happiness.
Okay, talk about that. What makes joy different from happiness?
I think joy is a radical commitment to yourself. Happiness is a feeling. It's a fleeting emotion, just like sadness and anger and rage. I think joy is an embodiment. Joy is our birthright. Joy is something that we have to come back to over and over and over again, because the world has conditioned us to default, to look at the world with the glass half empty, to not really trust that life's got our back enough to let go and experience joy. And so joy, I really believe it's a devotional practice. It's very much like what you were saying before. Like, I journal, I write, I practice, I reprogram, I tell myself new stories, I give myself new perspectives. It's a practice. And so for me, like, truly joy as an extrovert on TV, like, joy is solitude for me. Like, I get a lot of restoration and joy in being in my own company. And so my whole entire team, my husband, my friends, like, they know, like, Jessica needs a good solid couple of hours, not every day, but every week, a full day, Sundays, to just be with herself. Like, it's not, and if I don't do it, if I get too consumed with other people's stuff and my to-do list, I become a crankier version of myself, right? And so it's simple, but it doesn't make it easy, but it's simple. And that's why I think joy is, I say it's a daily devotion, a radical commitment to oneself, and a choice.
Do you see joy and pleasure?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. There's variations
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
spectrum of joy, but pleasure is an absolute code of the feminine that we have to incorporate, I think, as part of prioritizing joy. I think they're in the
agreed.
same conversation. And that's what Hathor is the goddess of, is pleasure and bliss.
Yeah. I've made pleasure a priority for 2025. That was my,
What are you doing?
like, I've changed my clothing, the sheets on my bed, the smells in my house.
Love it.
Also, when you said ecstatic dance, so I've started taking dance, like a combination of dance, Pilates, and yoga. I've never done it before. It's such hard work. I love, like, I'm in love.
Is this
my
like a
Tuesday.
class in Toronto?
Yeah, it's in Stratford, my hometown, and I've
Wow.
actually changed my team meetings, the whole structure of my business
I get
to
it.
accommodate these
As
two
you should.
classes.
As you should.
Like, I'm like, they've become a non-negotiable.
Amazing.
Yeah, from the foods that I'm eating, and I'm trusting myself as my tattoo and asking myself, okay, like, is it the strawberry today that's bringing joy, or is it the truffle French fries I had last night at dinner? Like,
Yeah.
and all of it, I get to have all of it with no consequence, no guilt.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's an unlock for me. It's beautiful. That everything is like a conscious connection to experiencing joy in your life, no matter how small or large.
Yeah, and I see that so for me, the pleasure and joy are very much connected.
Yeah, I love it.
And if I prioritize pleasure in the feeling of what lights me up
Yeah.
and asking, is it bringing that pleasure? Then that pleasure leads to joy.
Yeah.
If that's what it feels like.
I get it. Absolutely. I think they're like the same continuum.
Mhm.
That's like your doorway in.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah. And it applies to all areas of my life. I've got like, from pajamas to sex to all the things, you know?
To French fries.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a reframe. Thank you.
Your second message from the Pleiadians, you said there were two. So one was you're totally missing the plot.
Yeah, which was right.
So before we wrap, I'm like, if not, we're going to need another episode.
No, I get into this one. This is actually, gosh, it's so cool to talk about it now, because here, like I was saying, 2 years later, what's alchemized and what's transpired is truly a result of that moment in so many ways. And so they had said to me, okay, this is actually, I'm not really sure this story. So right before Egypt, I had done this like promotional video for my agency, and I have a best friend who's a stylist, and she had dressed me, and she put me in this lace top with a corset. Okay. And it was to reach executives. Like, we were running our agency. That was our lane, B2B. And I remember reaching out to Alexa, like, because I was thinking about it. I was like, this is inappropriate. We have to reshoot the video. I can't wear that outfit. And I was like, she's like, are you sure? And I was like, we're doing it again. Just find the time on my calendar. Like, I had this in my brain while I was in Egypt thinking about work. And when I was in that chamber in Hathor's temple, they said to me, you wear that corset in that video. You need to stop apologizing for your beauty.
Wow.
You need to take up space. All women need to stop apologizing for their beauty inside and out, because the feminine frequency is returning. They use the word returning. They didn't say it's being birthed. They said it's returning.
Yeah.
And you, Jessica, are a leader of this time, but not just you, because you're only one woman. It is the responsibility of all women at this time to be stewards of this reclamation. And so we need you to take this information to as many women as you possibly can. And that's what birthed the book. And that's what birthed the school.
Yeah.
And so, and that really, truly, Danielle, is what's birthed this whole awakening for me. Because I took this information in a matter of a minute, and I had no choice but to unpack it. Like, especially that word returning. Like, what does the feminine frequency returning really allude to? And this sent me down a rabbit hole of really recognizing that we live on Mother Gaia, a feminine being, that for hundreds of thousands of years before the patriarchy, everything oriented towards the feminine and was governed and ruled with the womb, the birth and death tomb of all of creation. That actually everything I had learned about the Pleiadians, they refer to prime creator as the whole universe that is creating in a free will zone what it is unto itself for it to become its own. That is a feminine being. I don't even know how to define, but prime creator is feminine.
Yeah.
I went down this excavation of research on all of these amazing, amazing books that just blew my fucking mind. Like, we have been living in a lie.
Yeah, we've been duped.
We've been duped. Like, so profoundly, deeply duped.
As you're speaking, I got this overwhelming sense of like pride of what it means to be a woman in this body.
Yeah.
And I also got like, okay, men are amazing as well. And yet there's no coincidence that we're here in women's bodies for right now.
That's what they told me too. You just reminded me. They're like, you could have incarnated as a man.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You chose to be a woman in this life.
Yeah. And each one of us, especially as we remember our light, become even more and more beautiful and radiant on the outside.
It's so true.
And we're meant to be that and captivating and show-stopping for other women and the men.
We are. That is really, I think, one of the most beautiful words is like radiant.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you are a woman who knows who she is and what a gift it is to be herself, who is becoming her, as you say.
Yeah.
There's no beauty quite like that. And to be able to say, hey, sister, I see you in your radiance. And your radiance doesn't take away from my radiance. It just amplifies it.
Yep. So that brings us to the school.
Yeah.
As we wrap.
Yeah.
And then I've got 3 questions.
Okay, great.
So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you. Big experiment that worked.
Yeah. And I love, it's 4 months.
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
I love the time. For me, I'm like, give it to me.
Yeah.
So when I saw that in the modules and how you go through, perhaps you can give people the Coles notes of what they could experience inside the school, because it's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Channeled it too after Egypt wide open. So it's called the Feminine Frequency Business School. It's a 12-week group coaching and certification program for female entrepreneurs really ready to step into their business acumen and 7-figure worthiness in a community of sisterhood, really learning the true codes inside and out of what it takes to build a business, from brand to marketing to operation systems, teams, sales, look and feel, leadership, all really set, however, within the foundation of the goddesses. I work with Sekhmet and Hathor and Isis throughout the entire program. We work with the 7 chakras. Each and every week, we dedicate a chakra to a goddess, and I provide an activation, a meditation, a somatic practice So as you're expanding into, say, your messaging, you're activating your throat chakra, right? You're expanding into your sales acumen. I'm going to connect you to your heart so that you can come from service.
Yeah.
You're building your power as a leader. We're going to work with your root, So it's got all of that deeply woven within it, but it really is a very tactical training on entrepreneurship. I don't think there's anything like it. And you graduate with a certification. I didn't want to create another course where you can take it or not take it. Think it was a waste of money. We hold you accountable to finish through weekly assessments. At the end of the 12-week program, you do a dissertation. You don't necessarily pass. We read your assessments, and as we make you go back and do it if we want you to dig deeper. I'm very proud to say out of the 53 women that I took through it in the fall, 50 graduated, and the 3 that didn't were extraneous circumstances like a death in the family, divorce, something else. And then I opened it up into a membership to continue to work with me, and 47 women opted in to work with me out of the 50 because I really show up for them. It's like, it's not this online thing that I'm making money off of. Like, these women are investing in themselves. My codes are their codes. I operate in a true spirit of sisterhood. Like, I don't hold anything back. I have my whole team in there. So it's Alexa, it's Amy, it's Sarah, really coaching these women on their business specific questions and problems and challenges for 12 weeks straight. And the last thing I'll share, which is kind of a really cool factor of it, we break all women into pods. So you have what's called your frequency pod with your pod leader. We've made the graduates from our previous cohort
I love
lead
that.
the pods
Yeah.
to
what a
really empower
gift.
them, to give them, like, exalt them, help them grow their leadership facilitation skills, help them get, a broader network and meet more beautiful women, be seen as a leader. So it's really operating in this reciprocity, and they get a bunch of goodies from me to do that. And so it's sisterhood, it's community meets this, this mastermind feeling meets this true MBA level business, accelerated MBA level business training with all of these mysteries of the goddess. And how do you, so much back to what we were saying. The last thing I'll say is, like, I don't want to teach women how to build business in the old paradigm. I don't want them to run these big successful businesses and kill themselves to get there, which is why we stay in the body with the chakras, which is why we work with these ancient keys from Hathor, Isis, and Sekhmet, so that we're really remaining and maintaining and reclaiming our feminine frequencies as we build these beautiful businesses in the 3D. So that's the program in a nutshell. So much fun.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love that you brought the graduates back from the first cohort as well. What a gift.
I really believe, like, and I see you doing this too. And I think the old paradigm of, like, online entrepreneurship is like fill the funnel, churn them and burn them, go back and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to do that. I'm really here to create community, and to bring women into my world and know them and love them and give them reason after reason after reason to stay, to really cultivate a sisterhood tree.
And you also do a great job at making sure that they have all your resources. That's something I really noticed about you, and your connections and your experts that you use.
Yeah.
And I noticed that.
Yeah. What's mine is yours.
Huge.
It is huge. Like, I just think it's new paradigm.
Yeah. No competition.
No competition.
Creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
For
it.
real.
Thank you for being a leader
Thank
in
you
the
for
field and
seeing me. And I'm so excited for you. And
thank you.
you know that I'm always, in your corner cheering for you. And what's mine is yours.
Thank you.
Of course. Forever.
Ready for your 3 questions?
I am. Hit me, Mystic Millionaire.
So the first one, abundance in one word. Go.
Your birthright.
Ooh. Good one. You got the cue.
I did. It's true.
Okay. Second is millionaire mindset, indulgence. So If you have, I'm sure you do, one thing or maybe multiple things, but that are non-negotiables for you that get you into your multi-million, billion-dollar self,
Mm-hmm.
what is that non-negotiable indulgence that is guilt-free?
That's guilt-free.
Yeah.
I only fly first class in business.
Yeah.
I stay at really nice hotels. Like I'm a travel in general is my biggest indulgence. I love to travel in style. I won't fly more than 3 hours unless I'm in first class. And I certainly won't fly anywhere internationally unless I'm in business class. And usually it's, very expensive to do that. I spend my money on like me, like my soul, like personal development. It's not cheap to do plant medicines. It's not cheap to hire a coach. My relationship coach is $1,000 an hour and we don't blink. Those are some non-negotiables. I mean, yes, I spend money on clothes, but I'm not like a Chanel girl. I'm more of like a Zara girl. And I'd rather spend my money on travel and upgrading my consciousness and capacity. Egypt.
So a question, not that is one of the three. So I get one more.
Yeah.
When you fly first class and you get off the airport, do you ever use Uber?
No, I use a private car.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And if you were to use Uber, it's always a
Always
black.
a black car.
Yeah.
I will take a
like
black car down the block.
Yeah, same.
I yell at my team. I'm like, why the fuck did you order an Uber X? We're never like,
Yeah.
I don't yell at my team, but I mean, it's a joke. They know, like I won't. I have someone that picks me up, is waiting with a sign at the airport.
Yeah.
And if I have to Uber, it's Uber Black or Uber SUV.
Yeah. It's an important standard that I think I can see sometimes clients, I can see them like going back. Oh, well, this time maybe it's not, I don't need first class and I don't need,
Yeah.
And my mentor used to say, I actually posted this on my travel here, front of the plane, back of the car.
Yes.
Non-negotiable.
Yes. 100%.
And it goes back to your self-image and your self-worth.
Yes. 100%.
And allowing yourself to be supported. 'Cause
Correct.
there's no support at the back of the plane.
There's no support at the back of the plane. And you get off first and you
get like extra luggage.
all the things,
and
extra leg room.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I'm glad we're talking about this because there was a part of me that at one time justified it because if I'm traveling internationally, I'm going to want to lay horizontal and get good sleep and it will impact my jet lag.
Yeah.
If I'm traveling for work, I need to be off the plane fast so I can get to where I'm going. While all of those things are true, it's like, no, I just like it.
I just
Deserve it and prefer
and
it.
that's who I am.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it keeps you at a certain level in your own like
Frequency.
self-image, frequency of who you are.
Self-image. Do you say self-image?
Yeah,
I say frequency.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay, third question. You only have one book that you can read for the rest of your life. Over and over, you can read as many times. What is that book?
What's coming to me. So I'm, like I was saying, I'm a history nerd. Like I've gotten really down and dirty into the matriarchy.
Are you a one line for human design?
No, I'm a 6'2" or 2'6".
Okay.
I forget what I am.
Okay.
I would say it would be either Womb Awakening
Okay.
by Seren Bertrand or Isis, the Goddess of 1,000 Faces. Those books are like this thick, first of all. So I'd have a lot to read. And I read them now and I still feel like I have to go back and reread to fully understand the chronological order, the places, the monuments, the stories. I feel so activated when I read those books. They're really about the ancient truths of women before we were written out of the patriarchy. And so I feel like that's my work for the rest of my life, to be honest. Yes, I do branding, marketing, business. But what I really feel more and more that my North Star is to be a big voice for the divine feminine frequency return. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that that's huge. And I want to dive into that and understand and then be proud to know. Heck, I know that we've been written out.
Yes.
And that there is a return. And it's always been a feeling like I don't have the history to back it up. So I'd like the knowledge from books and that.
Totally.
So I'd like that.
That's like if I could not work if I had the luxury of like not having anything to do with my days, like how would I fill them? And it would be two things. I would definitely spend time giving back to animals, like shelter work, philanthropy, activism. The other would be, I think I would be like a secret like philosophy student. Like I would read history books and theory books and spiritual books all day long. Like I wish I had more time to fill my own cup in that way. I am working on a third book.
Okay.
That's
good.
It's gonna require me to I feel like this third book is gonna really be a body of work that's gonna really require me to go super deep and do a lot more research than I even did for the light work. So long answer to your quick fire question, but I would go with Womb Awakening or Isis, Goddess of a Thousand Faces.
Yeah, great. Can't wait for that third book.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for
Yeah.
saying that.
Thank you.
Still, it's like I just got gestated. Like the sperm hit the ovary
Amazing.
and like we're like about to gestate and expand.
Jessica, thank you. Jess.
I love you, Danielle. Thank you for having me.
Absolute honor and privilege, manifestation for me to be here. Thank you for being a guest on the Mystic Millionaire podcast.
Fucking pumped to be on the Mystic Millionaire podcast. Happening.
Thank you for helping me birth this.
You're so welcome. You birthed this.
Yeah.
I just was like, hey, girl,
Yeah.
I see you. You see you?
Yeah.
You can do this. Go do it. You did it.
What a blessing you are.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Ditto. Beyond.
being a friend, a sister.
A sister on the path. I see you. Let's rise together.
Thank you.